While one Buffalo sports team's having as much fun as humanly possible, the other one, the ugly duckling right now, the Buffalo Sabres. A shutout loss, a losing streak. We'll get to what's going on here in what used to be called Hockey Heaven here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast. And thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. That includes our YouTube channel. You can check us out there, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Sneaky Joe DiBiase on a Monday show following a 3-game losing streak by the Buffalo Sabres, and it's not going well after what looked like a really good streak that would have them in a playoff spot for many days in a row. And okay, here they go. They're winning some games. They're winning games they shouldn't win. San Jose was one of those games. And then flop. 3 losses in a row with 3 goals total, 2 shutouts. We'll talk about what is happening with the offense right now on this hockey team, because that is where we need to be looking for how to make this team better, or what they need to get better at if they're going to break the playoff drought this season. We got a week coming your way with a few more teams from the Western Conference. Colorado on Tuesday, Winnipeg on Thursday, Utah on Saturday. The Sabres, though, after playing on Long Island on Saturday, are about to rattle off 5 straight home games. So we'll see if they can go on a little bit of a run here at home. The opponent is not the opponents are not very easy, right? Colorado's a great team, even though they haven't had good success yet this year. Winnipeg's an amazing team. Utah, Detroit, Rangers, Rangers are good. So not like every team is a juggernaut, but it's not the easiest stretch coming up for the Buffalo Sabres. So we'll get to it all. What's ahead? I got some injury updates for you as well. One positive injury update to get to you on Jordan Greenway. That's coming up a little bit later on in today's show. If you would like to check us out on social media, you can check us out on Twitter at Locked On Sabres, or you can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm at Sneaky Joe there. Also, check out our Locked On Sabres text club. If you'd like to sign up for that, join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres. That's where you can check us out. Where I wanted to start today's show, though, before we get to what happened over the weekend and the biggest problems get in depth on the offense a little bit, I want to get to the Sabres and some of these numbers and these recent results that really point to they're a low-event hockey team. They are a team that is not generating a lot of scoring chances. They are not a team that is scoring a lot of goals. And it's the thing I don't want to take a victory lap on this, but since the summer, it's been my number one concern of this hockey team, is I just don't know that they're going to be able to score enough goals. Lindy Ruff's going to come in and going to bring in a more mature system, and are they going to prevent more goals with Luukkonen in goal as well? I thought Levi was going to be part of that. That has not happened. But in general, I didn't have any qualms or concerns about the system stopping the other teams from scoring. My biggest concern all along was, do you have enough talent in your lineup to score goals consistently? And so far, that is being proven to be the number one concern of this hockey team. So I got some numbers on that, and we'll try to figure out where they could find that offense coming up on today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast. I want to start, though, today with the other team in town. I heard Sean McDermott after the Bills beat the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. He opened up his press conference with, if you want to say lumping in the Sabres, maybe he wasn't thinking about it. We here in Buffalo, we love our professional sports teams. We love our professional sports teams. And I thought about that, and I thought about the night and the euphoria you feel right now if you are a Bills fan. And not just that, how much fun it is to go to games build memories, and be in the stadium. Last night, it's a snow globe. It's another all-time moment. Your star player is giving you classic memories, a play that you'll never forget for the rest of your life. And that's a team that once upon a time we thought was never going to get it together, right? 17-year playoff drought. We never thought they were going to get together, and they did. They got there. And it does make me a little sad when thinking about the Sabres. So I go in, I do the morning show today on WGR, and it's all about the Bills, right? It's all about yesterday's game, and then getting ready for this podcast, very different, right? It's like, all right, let me click into Sabre mode here. Let me click into Sabre mode, and it's just like, this team, because hockey, I like hockey more than football. I mean, it's so close that you might as well not even, put one over the other. But if you made me, gun to my head, I would pick hockey. There's just nothing. There's nothing even close. There's nothing that compares to what it would feel like right now to be a Bills fan for the Sabres. There's hope. There's optimism that will one day happen again. It will happen again. But those memories that Bills fans are feeling right now, if you're my age, you didn't feel them in the 90s, and those are the memories that you heard about, the feelings you heard about from your dad or from your grandpa about what it was like to watch the Kelly Bills, and now you're getting to experience it yourself. Or if you watched it in the 90s and then had to go through 17 years, and now, all right, I get the chance to do it again. Hockey, it's like we're still waiting for our next chapter. We're waiting for our next version of all-time moments in the arena, remembering where you were. Because I do, for when Drury scored in Game 5, I remember where I was, who I was with, all of it. I remember where I was when Campbell hit Umberger in a playoff game. I mean, those playoff moments, those in the arena moments where everybody's losing their mind and it's an amazing night and everybody goes out after, it's just, you don't have that. You don't have that right now. And maybe the right approach isn't to be saddened when thinking of the Sabres in this context, because I know it's not happening right now, but maybe it is better to think the other way of, if it happened for the Bills, it can happen for the Sabres. But one thing that happened for the Bills is they got one individual that is just all-time great, propels them to all of this, right? Like Josh Allen is that. And hockey is so different, but it's not all the way different. You can have it be so that one individual that's just that all-time great can propel you to that level of success. I mean, McDavid's doing it in Edmonton, right? Like, Edmonton has not been, in my opinion, a well-run organization over the course of his career. Not on the grand scale of things, but why are they living the life they are? Why are they going to the Stanley Cup Finals? Why are they in the playoffs almost every year? Because they have an all-time great. And you could get that. I don't know that guy's on the team right now. You could get that. You could get lucky. Maybe a guy on the team is going to be that. Maybe Power is going to take another step. Not going to go down the list, but it's just, you approach it how you want. But just to say, man, do I look forward to the day where nights like Bills fans had last night in the stadium with that win over San Francisco, Sabre fans will have nights like that again in the arena, in big moments, in meaningful games, with all-time great plays, all-time great nights, just all of it. Time out here. When we come back, I want to get into, talking about the Bills comparison. The Bills are out here scoring 30 points a week. The Sabres are the opposite right now, where they can't score. And I'm not surprised. But what's the fix? Is Lindy Ruff on the case for that? We'll get to that coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, as the Sabres lost in a shutout to the New York Islanders on Saturday. That's ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready for the NHL action all season long, and of course the rest of the National Football League season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app give you everything you need, place live bets in the NFL all in one place. So when you're in the middle of the game and you get a hunch, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is also presented by Gametime. Gametime has this new feature called Gametime Picks. Makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff, shows you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. You can check it out for the hockey games coming up, the football games throughout the rest of the season. Those obviously are a lot of fun right now. Check out all the best deals available on Gametime. They have their lowest price guarantee. They have Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase covered the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, the Sabres riding a 3-game losing streak. They did get one of a possible 6. They got a point against the Vancouver Canucks, making up a 2-goal deficit in the third period. 2 goals by Dylan Cousins against Vancouver on Friday, but that is sandwiched between 2 shutout games where you didn't score any goals. The Sabres, we could face it, their number one problem by far is scoring. It's not even close. Their goaltending is fine. Their goaltending is good with Luukkonen this year. Their defense is good. I think you could say I like their defense. I think their defense is providing more their share of offense than they really need to be. If you look at, some of the numbers where, teams that have 3 defensemen in double-digit points or 15-plus points, the Sabres are up there with Byram, I don't know why I did this order, but Byram, Dahlin, and Power, giving them as much offense as any defensive trio in the league. Where they're lacking is scoring up front. It's very predictable that this has ended up happening. In this game against the Islanders on Saturday, was anybody surprised? Was anybody surprised at all that that's what it looked like? That you're going on the road to play the Islanders. The Sabres always struggle with the Islanders. And that's a team that wants to smother you. They want to play defense. They don't care about winning cups. They don't care about winning in the playoffs. They just want to win 2-1 hockey games for their entire existence and sell tickets. That's the existence of the New York Islanders. They really infuriate me, by the way, if you can't tell. They have no interest in winning a Stanley Cup. None. They only exist to win 2-1 and fill up their building. That's all their owner cares about. Clearly, because he's been okay for 7 years playing this brand of hockey that everybody knows has 0 chance of winning the cup. Bitter, yes, you could say it. The Sabres, meanwhile, just such a lesser franchise in the last 5 years than that team that they played. And they always struggle with them. And when they lock it down like that and they block shots and they get in the lanes, the Sabres, they talk a lot about scoring dirty goals. And that's what happened against Vancouver, right? Goal goes off of Dylan Cousins' hip or shoulder, and it goes up in the air and over into the back of the net. It's one thing to score a lot of dirty goals and to think you could live that way, but it's not really realistic. You got to have the talent. You got to have the skill to be able to get into those scoring areas and then finish from those scoring areas. And the Sabres do not presently have that. Tage Thompson is somebody you rely upon for that, and Alex Tuch is very good at it, but there's not much after that. I'm still waiting for J.J. Peterka to break out this season like he was supposed to. And I don't feel like that's happening as of late. And now, updated lines, he's not on the top line. Peterka has been, if you want to call it a demotion, if you want to just call it a change up, he is not on the top line anymore. The line combinations after the Islanders loss, Thompson, Tuch, and Zucker. That's your new number 1 line. Cousins, Peterka, and Benson is now your second line. McLeod, Kulik, and Quinn on line 3, and then Krebs, Malenstein, and Obe Kubel is line 4. So what you have is a top line where I've got a guy in Jason Zucker who was very good as a third-line winger at the beginning of the season, now being asked to play above his pay grade on the number 1 line. You have Zach Benson, who I love and would have in my lineup every night, but as I've noted almost every time we talk about him, I don't think he is physically up to being a reliable scorer on a night-to-night basis. Not yet. But he's being asked to be a scorer. He's being asked to play in the top 6. He probably should play in a third-line role. Can't have it. He's got to play in the top 6. Cousins, who has been struggling for 13 months now to score goals, still being relied upon to be your second-line center. Like, third line, even if you want it. You got a rookie in Kulik, and you got a guy in Jack Quinn who has not beat a goaltender yet this year. Like, that's what you're looking at. Those are the guys you're relying upon. Who do you trust? It's not happening for this team. And what's the reason for that? I mean, you could say it was the opponent against the Islanders. You could say that the Wild on Wednesday, actually, I don't really know what the excuse would have been last Wednesday against the Wild where they got shut out. I think it's more of a talent problem. I think it's a talent problem up front that they just don't have the guys that are ready. And they've had a lot of regression from the likes of Dylan Cousins, Jack Quinn. All right. And one other factor on this, if you're looking big picture, the Sabres of 2 years ago, this was the point I was making all summer. The Sabres of 2 years ago that finished top 3 in the league in goal scoring, they had Jeff Skinner as a point-a-game player. There's nobody in the lineup right now that touches Skinner of 2 years ago. 35 goals, 82 points. Nobody in the lineup touches that. We were hoping Peterka was going to, but that's not happened. 2 years ago, when the Sabres missed the playoffs by 1 point and had all those goals, Victor Olofsson scored 28 goals as a secondary goal scorer, playing 14 minutes a night. Who's that guy now? Is that Quinn? Is that Kulik? Is that Benson? None of those secondary scorers touch 28 goals right now. Casey Middlestat, who was the team's best bottom 6 player, if you want. He was mostly at center that year, but also flirted with the wing too. Had 57 points and led the team in scoring the last month of the year. McLeod even. He's been good, right? I've liked him. Cousins has been this. I mean, you could just compare him to himself from 2 years ago. But guys in the bottom 6, nobody's touching 57 points. You've got 59 points, 59 points. I was looking at last year. 59 points. Nobody touches it. You have not replaced Skinner. You have not replaced Olofsson's goals. You have not replaced Middlestat's production. That's 3 guys. That's a quarter of your lineup. All offensive players haven't been replaced. And until they do that, until guys start stepping up, I'm going to really doubt that they can be a playoff team. The other thing, though, is about their style and the coaching element. Got some numbers on that when we come back. Are the Sabres playing the style they want to play? That's ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast with Sneaky Joe DiBiase. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, get my money super quick. They now offer Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account all season long. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions, can lead up to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks will discount player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app. Code LOCKEDONNHL. $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Final segment here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres entering a week against some good teams, but all at home, and they are trying to figure out how to score some goals. The injury update, by the way, that I teased earlier that I failed to get to, Jordan Greenway back doing a rehab skate. So he is on his way to returning. They want to see how he responds to that. We'll ask Lindy Ruff tomorrow when he's on WGR about that. But Greenway looks like he is starting to approach getting back on the ice. The other guy that's back skating is Matthias Samuelsson. Samuelsson back skating on his own. Ruff said he's making progress, so no timeline on him yet, but he is also making some progress. Sam Lafferty is going to be week to week with a lower body injury. So we'll see how long he ends up being out. The Sabres and their goal scoring problems. So it's not just, by the way, it's both. It's 5-on-5 and it's power play again. After we had talked about the Sabres on the power play, had that middle portion of this season where they were pretty good, right? They were top 5 in power play scoring for the course of about a month after having like the worst start imaginable. Since then, they're 0 for 13. So they are on an 0 for 13 slump when it comes to the power play, and they are not scoring at 5-on-5. And is this by design? The Sabres have a very interesting combination going on right now with some of their numbers. And trying to figure out what's on purpose, if this is sustainable. I mean, I don't think it's sustainable. But basically, here's what we're looking at. If you look at shot attempts per 60 minutes, how often are the Sabres shooting the puck at the net? Doesn't matter from where. Just could be from anywhere. How often are the Buffalo Sabres shooting the puck at the net per 60 minutes of hockey? And the answer is they rank in that department 19th in the league. Okay? 19th in the league. They're firing the puck at, no, wait, that's not right. Hold on. Sorry. I that's why I was confused. I had 2 years ago still pulled up from some of the stats from before. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Shot attempts per 60 minutes, 9th in the league. That's more like it. Top 10 in the league and firing the puck at the net. They are going to shoot a lot. 61.4 shot attempts per game, the Buffalo Sabres, when they're at 5-on-5 per 60 minutes. All right. They shoot a lot, right? Well, go look at expected goals for, though, per 60, which is more about shot quality. How many goals are you expected to score per 60 minutes on all those shot attempts? The Buffalo Sabres in expected goals for percentage on the year rank, or not percentage, expected goals for per 60. How many goals are they expected to score at 5-on-5 per hour of play? 29th in the NHL. That combination, and if you look at some of their heat maps, like where shots come from, this is also represented here. The Sabres right now are a team that's shooting the puck a lot, and it's from distance. They are not getting to the quality scoring areas. They are not getting shots from the slot. They are not getting shots from in around close. They are not getting to the lower faceoff circle. They are shooting from distance and hoping that a bounce goes their way and it goes off a leg, or they get a rebound and then they smash it in from there. They are a team right now that is focused, or is at least executing more on volume than on quality. And that is not sustainable. That is absolutely, absolutely not sustainable. They also expected goals allowed per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. Where do the Buffalo Sabres rank? 14th. All right, middle of the pack, maybe a hair above middle of the pack, but pretty good. What that equates to is the Sabres right now are a low event hockey team. They're not expected on a night-to-night basis to score a lot of goals, and they are also not expected to allow a lot of goals. And this is, you could say, a product of Lindy and a product of the system, and I would agree with you to an extent. I also think it's maybe what Lindy has seen from his roster. Now, Chad DeDominicis was talking about this and wrote about this in Expected Buffalo also, and as he pointed out, Lindy's previous stops, these most recent ones, New Jersey, his team's there, his team's in Dallas, none of his teams looked like this. None of his teams were just, let's just shoot the puck from the outside all the time. We'll play low event. We'll play defensive, limit chances. I don't know what it is. It might be more the roster than the system, but it might be the system reacting to what he has out there on the ice. It's a problem, though. And I continue to wonder if they will ever go back to the type of hockey they were playing 2 years ago. They might never. They really might never, ever go back to a team that I just mentioned. I mean, there was more offensive talent on the team. You had a great Jeff Skinner that year. You had Casey Middlestat playing amazing. You had Olofsson at least scoring goals for you, even if nothing else. You had a team that was capable of scoring. But you allowed them to play loose. You allowed them to play free. You allowed them to play aggressive. And yes, that got you beat a lot because you gave up a ton of chances. You made a lot of mistakes. But you missed the playoff by 1 point. And by the way, with all those mistakes, you didn't even have a good goaltender that year. So you had a team like that, and you haven't played like that since. That was the best they've done in the entire drought, and they have never gone back to that. And I don't know though that you can go back to it. I'm not even quite advocating that Lindy take his team right now and go back to Granado hockey, which is loose, free, mistakes. We're fine. We're just going to score as many goals as we possibly can. I don't even know if I'm advocating Lindy do that because I don't know that they have the ability to play that way anymore. I don't know that their roster is constructed in a way to play that way anymore. So it's frustrating, right? Because it felt like 2 years ago, the Buffalo Sabres had a team that was on the verge that just needed to clean it up a little bit and get a better goaltender, right? You missed by 1 point. You were top 3 in the league in scoring. Just clean up the style and the mistakes just a little bit and get a better goaltender. And 2 years later, they're playing a completely different style of hockey, and they have that better goaltender, and they find themselves 3 points out of a playoff spot at 500. So I'll ask Lindy tomorrow about this a little bit. I wonder what he'll say to it, but I don't think what they're doing right now is sustainable, where they're shooting all these pucks from the outside, and they're a team that's right now by the numbers expected to be playing that 2-1, 3-2 type of hockey, less so than 4-3, 5-4. And that's where you're at. But they need Quinn. They need Cousins. They need the guys we've been talking about all season. They're going to need 2-3 guys that are currently not producing offensively to start driving offense themselves. And I don't know who you're supposed to believe that's about to happen for. Maybe Quinn is the answer, but did not play well against in the last couple of games after playing, I thought, well on the West Coast. All right, it's going to do it for us today here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres and Avalanche tomorrow. We'll talk more about the Avs next time and that game where, a little bit of a weird team this year, and it's a return of Casey Middlestat. See, maybe will he get a tribute video? We'll see. All right. Thanks for listening today to the Locked On Sabres podcast. Check out our text line again. Join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres to sign up. And be sure to check out Locked On Bills with Joe Marino for a recap of Bills Niners, which was a fun one. And also Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Steal and Flip. They got you covered throughout the week here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for listening. Locked On Sabres, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.